All right, so next up we do have our first panel discussion. And for that, our topic will be strategic defense systems and UAV capabilities. And to chair that, I would like to call Brigadier CVG Prasad on the stage. Can we have a huge round of applause, everyone? Along with that, we do have our panelists. So first up, we have Wing Commander Bhupender S. Nijjo, veteran Army officer.
Just listen. Chairing is Air Marshal Bedi.
They have changed it. Yeah. They
By mistake, just check them.
All right, so there was a little confusion. I'm so sorry for that. Once again, I would like to introduce you to the topic. The topic will be strategic defense systems and UAV capabilities. And it is going to be chaired by Air Marshal G.S. Bedi. So let's have a huge round of applause for him, everyone. Can we have you on the stage, sir? All right, next up, Wing Commander Bhupender S. Nijjo, veteran Army officer. Keep it going for everyone. We do have our wonderful panelist here for us. Next up is Lieutenant Colonel Narendra Tripathi, veteran Army officer. Everyone, keep it going, keep it going. Next, once again, I would like to call you on stage, sir. Group Captain E.R. Rajappan, MD, Shivayu Aerospace. And then we have Lieutenant Colonel Arun Sharma, DGM, Tata Advanced System Limited. So this is the panel for today. Once again, let's have a huge round of applause for our lovely panel. Thank you so much.
Okay, still kind of good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We have a panel here. It says strategic defense systems and UAV capabilities. Now, since yesterday there have been a lot of interventions. We have talked a lot, and just if I can take 2 minutes, sir, Captain Chawla. I just heard you. No, please sit. I was sitting and listening to you. I have also traveled abroad and seen a little difference. The problem here is that they have picked up rules, aircraft rules, and directly implemented on UAVs. So to fly an aircraft, the age is 65. An airline pilot cannot fly beyond 65. So that is probably they have implemented here. And when abroad you say there is no maximum age limit, it is correct. And minimum age is 16 years, in fact. It say from 16 years, there is no age limit. But there are a lot of other requirements which you have to meet. It lists down requirement. It is not a two-line thing that, okay, you can fly up to anything. He says, okay, you must be proficient in this. You must pass an exam. You must be knowledgeable in this. You must be knowledgeable in this. And they have a system to ensure that all those requirements are met, which unfortunately in India you cannot. You can still go and take a driving license from RTO without even appearing in a driving license, right? So if you have a culture like that, then government takes it with a pinch of salt that, okay, if you open it up, UAV licensing without much of a regulatory framework, then how will it go? Just about anyone can do. So probably when we mature in those kind of directions, these things will come. But on a push like that with people like you, I mean, very soon we are all flying enthusiasts, but are going to get out of the window. So I think we will all push that these envelopes are furthered. Okay. Now coming to the main topic, when you talk of strategic, strategic weapon. What is a strategic weapon? If you Google it, it will tell you strategic weapon is a nuclear weapon. We created Strategic Force Command, which controls the nuclear weapons. And when you talked of strategic defense initiative, I'm using the figures which have got strategic prefix to it. Strategic defense initiative was what, making ballistic missiles to fight a nuclear war kind of thing, Star Wars, that kind of scenario. So America, all these people invented ballistic missiles to carry nuclear warheads, because even though they use aircraft in, to drop the only nuclear weapons ever dropped in the world, they realized that those scenarios were different. Today, if you had to drop a nuclear weapon 2000 miles away from your territory or 3000 miles away, you couldn't carry an aircraft to those positions, so you had to invent ballistic missiles. And then subsequently, things came that, okay, if nuclear war is never going to be fought, then all your ballistic missiles are just going to remain in their silos. I mean, can't they be used for anything else? So conventional warhead came. Then the problems came that, okay, if you launch a ballistic missile, how will the enemy know? Is it carrying nuclear warhead or, conventional warhead? So other weapons, long-range weapons, are now coming to hypersonic missiles, etc., etc. So all these weapons, when we say, are kind of strategic weapons. And now one wonders that where does a UAV class of aircraft or UAV class of system fits it into this strategic system overall. Okay, now when you, look at the capability, surveillance has been talked about. Okay, surveillance can be done through satellites also. Surveillance can be done through UAVs also. Your Reaper kind of the Hail class of aircraft can remain airborne for 30 hours, 40 hours, some claim systems up to 72 hours also. So what is it that UAV going to provide you which satellite can't provide? Satellites actually once launched, that thereafter they are operating on their own. They don't need much of fuel to go around. It's only for orbital correction they need fuel. Otherwise they are going just under gravity, round and round. But what UAV provides you is unique capability, two unique capabilities. One is, launch on demand, means you can launch it whenever you want. Satellite can't be done like that. Satellite launching is a very, very special activity. UAV I can launch anytime I want. Plus UAV provides you persistent surveillance. Not many of us understand the difference. Satellite can look at a particular area in a particular time, and its revisits are very large. That means if a satellite is over Delhi, let's say, particular one satellite is watching certain area of Delhi, then the next time it can come over Delhi is probably after 6 to 7 days, because it goes around in a sun synchronous orbit and Earth is rotating. So you need more and more and more satellites. Planet Lab had done a experiment, it's a satellite company, that if I wanted to have a persistent surveillance over a point, they mathematically worked out 108 satellites were required to have a persistent kind of surveillance, which one Reaper can give you. It can monitor that area continuously of your interest, which is of great value. And what I mean, if you just think that we fought Kargil, it came out that during Kargil we did not have UAVs, while UAVs, first use of UAV was as long back as Vietnam War. So now what happened is that we in a hurry went for searchers and Herons, and Israelis had that and they gave it to us, and we think we have a surveillance capability. Actually we still don't have surveillance capability. All we have is reconnaissance capability. Now the difference between reconnaissance and surveillance is, reconnaissance is like looking with a torch. You have to know what are you looking for, where is that thing likely to be. So you have a torch light, you go and look for it and find it. But if someone was to tell you, I don't can what is where, but I want you to find out, anything can happen anywhere, and I want wide area monitored, then you don't need searchlight, then you need a searchlight. Then you don't need torchlight. Like a jail compound, you have to monitor a jail compound because a prisoner can escape from anywhere. So you can't do that with torchlight. You need searchlight there. So that is the kind of capability a strategic UAV, will have to bring with it, that very wide area angle look. And when we come to weaponized, all of you, most of us have heard kamikaze drones. It carries a weapon, it can go and strike at a place. But the capability that we generally miss is the um, the capability, it brings with it the uncertainty. You know, all these drones, some of the Israeli drones or other categories, they can keep lurking overhead. It's not one way. It is not that it continues to fly like an aircraft, has to take off and thereafter has to land somewhere. Now what this guy does is above, it keeps lurking and keeps circling or keeps watching you. Take the case of an airfield. You've just attacked an airfield, you created some damage over the runway, and now your people have to come and repair that airfield. Who are these guys who repair? They are not regular soldiers, they are civilians, they are laborers. So if they come to repair that airfield, and I have these kamikaze kind of drones that whenever I see few people traveling towards that airfield, I just drop two of them. Now who will come there? You would have delayed that airfield coming into operation for hours together, and that is the strategic capability you achieve. Delaying air operations from an airfield for hours together by what? Through two kamikaze drones probably, who have created that uncertainty and ambiguity in people's minds. Okay, oh, I'm not going to go there because something may come. Okay, so these are the applications probably, many more which these UAVs bring along. Now I will stop here. We have eminent, panel with us, and one by one, I will just ask them for their intervention. I think we are already running late. I will say not to take more than 5 minutes at the most, each one of you, please. Okay, one by one we will start, and let me start with the Brigadier. Over to you, Brigadier Prasad.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Can you hear me? Yeah. Firstly, talking of strategic, theoretically, there's a difference between tactical and strategic. What gives the UAV strategic capability? Lot has been said. Theoretically, it has been tried out also. UAV can fly endlessly. You have solar paneled wings which keeps charging, and there is no man on it. Okay, it can fly endlessly. Endurance can be endless. The range can be endless. How is the range endless? Like earlier, there's something called ground control station. You fly these ground control stations. From here, you have a particular range. You are tracking it. Now, theoretically, you have one ground control station, say in India, another ground control station somewhere in Africa, another ground control station in US, and through satellite communication, one hands out to other, it can keep traveling. So, only thing is there is just no point just flying like that. It has to have some purpose. So that being what it is, now what are the capabilities? The First World War actually saw the development of the tanks. The tanks gave it a force multiplier. You call it force multipliers. You apply 1 kg of force, it gives you an effect of probably 100 kg. So force multiplier, the tanks won the wars in those days. Now the Second World War actually saw the emergence of tactical aircraft. The air power became very dominant during the Second World War. So thereafter some asymmetric warfare, probably you are already seeing it in Ukraine. Every day Ukraine is launching about 300 drones. And Russia is launching about 10 times more than that. They're expendable. They don't have to worry. They're cheap. They're expensive. So probably the next decade, now why is this thing? It is a sophistication of drones which is going to be the key in the next couple of years. How you are going to employ drones. Making a drone, again, I'm saying, how do you employ it? The thought behind it, application of mind, that is what going to drive the development of weapon platforms. Now the drone by itself, it's not an entire weapon system. The drone with the payload and intelligence built into it. The intelligence with AI developing very soon, the way technology is changing, if you don't keep pace, you will be redundant in another 2 years. Now today, the way AI, we all are using AI on our phones. Ask Meta anything today you can be an expert. So this is going to develop. Now what applications are going to be there? These applications are not going to be just restricted to the armed forces. Anything which is applied in the armed forces ultimately find their way into the civilian fields. I'll restrict myself to couple of these just to tickle your mind. People who are developing, they can start thinking on those lines. There is unmanned systems. It is no longer aerial weapons. It can be under the sea. Maximum work is going on these unmanned systems under the sea right now. Okay. Then also unmanned ground systems. I just talked about these robo mules. Okay. So similarly, there are so many places where the army finds it very challenging how to solve this problem. So these drones can simplify. Can you hear me? No. Is 1, 2, 3, 4. Hello. Yeah. These drones can simplify a lot of these issues. Now, as far as Navy is concerned, they are developing, as far as Navy is concerned, unmanned, uncrewed surface vehicles. Uncrewed surface vehicles is, there is no crew. It will go and intercept, like all these Houthis and all which are doing. Similar things can be done. There is no crew. It will just go and intercept launch any weapon system on that. Similarly, underwater, there is a submarine which is coming, or your submarine is going. You have a small pilot, unmanned one, which is just next to you. Say somewhere a torpedo is being launched against you. Now the submarine is very expensive, it is huge, it is manned, you don't want to lose the lives. So what this will do is, it will just go in front and sacrifice itself. It is like, it is against couple of billions dollar worth, and this craft, which is a pilot thing, can be in few thousands or couple of thousands of dollars or something like that. So that is the capability which an unmanned system can give you. If you see how this employment which is taking place on the borders, you see every day there is some infiltration which is taking place. There are so many huge gaps, we are not able to patrol it. You don't have the manpower to patrol this whole lot of line of control which is extending from this thing. This is where you can effectively use unmanned, these drones, up to 10 kilometers, up to 20 kilometers, up to 30 kilometers, depending on the requirement you can do it. Similarly, there are these minefields. You can develop few systems where right now, how minefields are breached. People just go, they wear minefield breaching, there are a lot of casualties. This is, I'm talking of in actual operations, what are the challenges which are being faced by the armed forces. Now, if you can have a system which can go detect, with some sensors, detect these mines, and just go blow up these mines, and then it's free for people to follow up. Similarly, bridging. I mean, the imagination is the just limit. Otherwise, you can do anything. Now, what we can expect in future? I'll just talk of these few things. Airborne communication nodes. This is what one can think of. Like today, we are sitting here. There is no connectivity. There is no connectivity. I can't use my mobile. What if, say, there were few drones which were positioned here, which are doing relay, and then everybody gets a connectivity, like Elon Musk is saying Starlink, which is providing connectivity to everywhere. So in operations where there is no connectivity, you can have, because airborne connectivity nodes, they can give you long range connectivity, they can, it can be a force multiplier. Next is submarine pilots, I have told. Attack versus defense. Earlier, the defenders had an advantage. The attackers did not have. Now is the time where the attackers with very little thing, they can go and overwhelm defenses. Probably it doesn't make much sense to keep occupying defenses, fixed defenses, because you will be sitting ducks. These are the small weapon systems with explosives laden, or with small weapons, loitering munitions. So any static target is highly vulnerable. So this is one area where this thing. Then there is one unmanned teaming systems. Teaming systems is, you have a manned aircraft which is going, and if you saw, say a president of US is flying, there are so many which are accompanying him as his escorts. Now these escorts can be given to these drones. You don't have to have escorts which are, if any problem comes place, if any attack takes place, these get sacrificed. So the human element remains safe. And last but not least, I don't want to carry on. There is something called situational awareness, which is a big thing. Because in the armed forces, there is a hierarchy. Okay, the man on the ground is in the front, then he reports it to the next one reports to the next one, the next one. So by the time the intelligence gets reported in older days, right now, of course, still there are some direct link. The situational awareness is the field commander sitting in his command post or something, he can exactly see the everything what is happening. He doesn't need to depend on the messages or information which is coming, which keeps getting corrupted. There is no corruption. Now he can judge for himself and he sees the overall scenario, he just then takes a decision. So the decision making loop gets, shortened a lot. So you can be ahead of the other guy. So these are some of the things which I have thought of. It's endless. As I said, it is just application of mind. Imagination is the limit. And what could not be thought of earlier is possible now. When the UAVs first came to the armed forces in 2000, it was basically for reconnaissance and surveillance. Because the surveillance was also possible, because we used to be given, I still remember, okay, you do a 20 kilometers or 50 kilometers by 50 kilometers search. It was possible, and which was unthinkable in prior to that. It could go and do it day and night. Then people started realizing, then we also started doing something called direction of artillery fire. Because artillery has got a long range weapon, you would not see where, and it required a lot of correction. Now a drone was stationed, it was just orbiting, it was a fixed wing, it was orbiting, and you fire, and then normally if an observation post officer used to see, he would take about 6 to 7 rounds to correct the round onto the target, and it would take about 10 to 15 minutes, surprise is lost. By then they would realize something and they would take cover. In this case, you intentionally place a round about 1 kilometer away from the target, and then with one correction, the drone itself would calculate the correction. With one correction, you could just bring down, another 20 rounds or 30 rounds in artillery. It was possible. So the direction of artillery fire was possible. Then now all these predator or reaper, what you call, specifically tailored, architecture made for carrying, UCAVs, we call it unmanned combat aviation vehicles and all that. So suddenly people realized this is just a platform, and you can do anything with it. That's all. Thank you very much.
Brigadier Prasad's knowledge is profound. I can, keep you busy for 3 days altogether, all by himself. But unfortunately, we just have, one loves to listen to him. This, automation in aircraft had long time back been envisaged, and I had seen a cartoon somewhere where it said that, the future crew of fighter aircraft will be the pilot and a dog. Pilot to feed the dog and dog to make sure that he doesn't touch anything, So it was that kind of automation which was being envisaged, because they didn't expect that an unmanned fighter aircraft could fly. Now MUMT that is mentioned, man-unmanned teaming, USA has experimented on F-16 that they're trying to fly through completely artificial intelligence. And it is not only one, of course, not putting a pilot in the aircraft, making it, less kind of damage control, I would say, to save the pilots. But there is a bigger gain, which is that most of the times aircraft's maneuverability is restricted not because of the airframe limitation, but because of the pilot limitation. There is only so much positive G that I can sustain. There is only so much negative G that a human being can sustain. But if there was no pilot in that aircraft could go much higher, notch higher, and will have a distinct advantage over another aircraft which is being manned by pilot. You must have heard, G-lock, etc. happening, that some of the accidents take place because pilot has lost consciousness under the effects of G, etc. So those are the bigger advantages, and of course, the decision taking in the aircraft itself, which is AI driven, is much, much faster. It can calculate and compute many more inputs at a much faster rate than a human being can. So having said that, okay, we next I would request Wing Commander Nijar we have with us. Okay, I'll ask him to make his intervention, and we just stick to about 5 minutes, please. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, and I'll make sure that I stick to 5. Uh, Firstly, I will take a slightly different view from this, all the theory part everyone knows. I'm sure the amount of knowledge level on theory element is tremendous, and the, the lectures which I've taken are, I mean, people have got updated to all of it. I will talk from my experience. The first time I heard of or had to deal with the UAV situation was when I was in air defense unit, and we had to plan how to defend a multi-million-dollar equipment against a very, very small threat which is going to come to us. So that is my way of taking it as the topic of strategic defense. A very high value target can be taken out, is being taken out live, which is being seen in Ukraine by a drone. The second element, second time when I came across and grappled with the situation was when I was a senior aerospace safety and inspection officer in a frontline airbase. We were operating all 3 types of aircraft: fighter, helicopters, and transports, and civil flights. And over the period of 3.5 years, this drone threat was growing at that particular time, and we had to put in a lot of effort to understand that how do we deal with it. So my approach to this strategic element of UAV, of course, reconnaissance, persistence reconnaissance in forms of HAPS is already there. That is one way of looking at it. My way of looking at it is that a small drone which has got adequate range and a payload capacity with a very, very skilled pilot can cause damage to which is unheard of, and long range damages to your civil infrastructure in terms of oil refineries, in case of your on ground strategic assets in form of long range bombers. Nuclear facilities have been bombed. So this is the threat matrix which I look at it. So now the point is that it is all right to understand all this theory. How do we implement it? How do we get it to ground? And as business person and a business oriented set of people, how do we make sure that it makes business sense? So the gentleman, when he asked this question about the logistics element, it was very pertinent. So on paper, it will look very nice, but there is a methodology to reach that particular point of when you will be allowed to use these drones in the context of logistics and delivery, etc. As far as another way of looking at the strategic point is there is I divided it into three basic divisions. First one is a wish list. I want a drone which can go, which can fly at about 4 kilometers, go thousands of kilometers, do a particular act and come back. That's a wish list. This is one strategic thought. The second one is what I have now in response to my enemy, or in actual case what is happening, what is the actual threat being faced by our troops or our frontline soldiers, or the problem statements which are being put out daily by in various fora, including this TDF funds and all these problem statements which keep on coming out. That is the second element. The third element is even more basic, that how do I look and as stakeholders, how do we make sure that regulator does not come down onto us with a ton of bricks? the ecosystem which has evolved till now has evolved on the basis of trust. They trust you that you will follow the rules which are laid out. In case any one of us makes a error, see the anti-national elements or those people who are doing, they will do irrespective of whether this role-based order is there or not, or not there. So that is the third element of this strategic defense. I would love to answer all the regulatory related questions tomorrow, but but remember, when we talk about strategic defense, the concept-wise swarms are an element which we need to deal with. So I'll put it in the top category. That is number one systems which we as industry should be addressing it right now for it to be rolled out in 3 years' time or 2 years' time. The second element of strategy, I also look at it from the control of the software element which you have. There was an instance, very public instance, in which a drone being flown in a military region was simply taken over and was taken across the border. Maybe it didn't have the endurance, so it crashed. The point is, if you do not control your firmware, you don't have control of what is the software environment you're working on. If you are keep on working on open source software, that is an inherent risk to our developing ecosystem. So that is also a part of see. The strategic application can take place in many manner, in any manner. We just saw it in Lebanon. The Motorola sets and the pagers were the planning for it took years and years. But we need to now, focus our attention. Enough marketing has been done. Now we have to get down to brass tacks to make sure that we actually, deliver the solutions which we only promise. Like the gentleman was speaking during the River Wala thing, Dr. Saab from Bhopal. He said they sell you the drones and thereafter they don't give the service. That is not we want. But he showed on the slide, he showed a DGI matrix. So, I mean, so you have to be very, very, we have to educate people. We have to understand that we are all stakeholders into it. We have to have strategic thought in terms of there is enough for everybody's growth. But we should not make the error of taking shortcuts and doing harm to ourselves in the short run. So that is what I look at this topic with this. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Wing Commander Nijar. Thank you. Now, some information is covered here in bits and pieces. Some of us are not attending all the sessions and some of the speakers also missed out what is covered, on the other day. So there you will find a bit of overlap and sometimes certain things being repeated. Now, what happens is about the policies we discovered it was, the whole session was on government policies and regulatory things where I made a small intervention that if the policies are written at later stage, much later, by then the misuse has started of the drones. So you're not writing policies to enable operations of the drone, but you are writing policies to how to not misuse it. So the whole policy turns out to be, you will not do this, you will not do this, you will not do this, rather than putting it in a format that how this is to be done, okay? But having said that, now another thing I want to tell you is that, when you look at, we are talking of military and you have heard a lot of military intervention, that when we are talking of use of drone in the military, we are only talking of drones. But actually it is not going to be like that. Drones are not going to operate alone in the military or in the war. They are going to be part of a much bigger game plan. So their potential increases manifold if they are part of the entire system. Means they are going to be part of your air defense missiles, your aircraft, your other, weapons, etc., etc. A simple analogy if I can draw, let's say two people having gun are fighting with each other, and I have a knife wielding young man, okay? So now if I just say, what is the potential of this knife wielding young man against a gun position? Now you can say it can't do much. But now if it's operating in conjunction with another gun holder and is going to, divert the attention of that other gun holder because a knife wielding man is running towards it, now it has increased its potential manifold because it's providing me a distinct advantage of saturating his thinking, saturating his attention, or diverting his attention, with which my weapon system becomes much more potential. So saturation of air defense, where my other air defense elements can work better because of these drones availability, is another strategic kind of thinking, or the strategic capability that they bring along. Okay, next I would, I will switch from my left to right. We have Colonel Tripathi with us. Okay, and I will request them to make an intervention. Please, 5 minutes, yes. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And today's topic about the strategic usage of UAV capabilities. So many speakers have talked about strategy. Let me first just touch upon a little on what operational, tactical, and strategic part of it. Operational being very the lowest most. The strategic is the topmost decision-making thought process. Now, when it talks about strategy, generally there are a lot of definitions which are available on Google and all. However, I have thought about integration of technology operations, the doctrine, and the execution of it. It covers the strategy of for any kind of threats or for any national security measures to be taken. These are the 4 elements which ensures the deterrence, the any kind of detection, recognition, and then the exact execution of the system to ensure that the security of that particular asset is there, whether it is a vulnerable area or a vulnerable point. This is taken care of. So I have 3 perspectives actually from the strategic point of view for drones as such. So if we see the ongoing conflict worldwide, there are conflicts in which asymmetric warfare is happening. The conventional methods of war are not being utilized, and the unconventional method of using drones for. But you see very clearly there is a sign which says that it is very, very silo. Everything is happening in some areas, some places, but there is no centralized control of the things. And my first definition talks about integration of the technologies, integration of multiple systems. So as sir brought out, talking about MUMTI, that is the futuristic thing. So first and foremost is about the perspective from Indian point of view. The perspective is, of course, from the surveillance and reconnaissance point of view, there are male category of drones which are already existing. But when it comes to the drones that we are talking about, the multi-rotors and the other categories, this strategic viewpoint doesn't exist. As of now, it still is in silos. We are talking only about some operational tactical level. How to convert it into a strategic level, that is the question. The other aspect is about the technology development cycle. That is, that how this, any technology takes almost a generation to get absorbed. From the conception, the experimental R&D stage to your manufacturing, then exploitation, all these steps are involved. And as of now, we are at the exploitation stage as far as the drones are concerned in India. And to get into a typical stage where the complete sustainment and the maintenance and the AMCs, everything is taken care of in a larger run, it is still, I feel that there is a lot of time to go. And third is, of course, we have to align for the futuristic technologies. That is, of course, again, in silos, things are happening in swarm technology, some gaps are being covered, some MUMTI is happening, some 5G technologies are also being talked about. However, these technologies needs to be integrated completely, and to have this integration done, we need to think of system of systems, where all these systems from the exact field army to the topmost commander level or topmost, the decision-making level, the complete information is available at every step. And all this system of systems are integrated. If I am sitting at headquarters, and if I want to see what is happening in particular sector during a situation or a time, then I should be able to get that. So actually it is less about, the drone technology is going very, very fine and multiple players are playing that game. However, what I feel is that there is a huge opportunity for AI-based software solutions which will integrate all this and bring us a strategic solution for drone technology. That's my word on it. Thank you so much. I think, sir, under 5
Thank you very much. Thank you, Colonel Tripathi. And I think we are a little short on time. Without saying anything, I will go round to Colonel Sharma first, okay? Because Group Captain has spoken at length just now, and we'll give you a chance at the end, right? Okay.
Thank you so much, sir. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy to be part of such an enabled panel where all of us at some points in time during our services have been associated with unmanned systems, and we have a lot to talk about our experiences. So I'll also share a very short, glimpse of how I have been associated with these systems. So I am Lieutenant Colonel Arun Sharma. I am an Indian Army veteran, and I have hung my uniform just January this year. Most of my career, I have been associated with unmanned systems, which has fostered a very deep understanding of conducting military operations augmented with UAVs. I must share that use of UAVs in military operations, it completely changes the dynamics of the event. There is a lot of clarity with ground troops and commanders in chain, and the job can be completed much faster. Therefore, not only amalgamating UAVs in the paradigm of military operations is a norm, but also technological developments have enabled diversification of the role of these systems from ISR, that is intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, to logistics, weapon delivery, communication relay, full motion video broadcast, identification, friend and foe, and many more such roles. UAVs have revolutionized modern warfare and are now an integral part of a strategic defense of any country. These eyes in the sky survey the area of conflict effectively and generate useful intelligence. The confidence that these systems generate is immense. Today, when a staff in one of the headquarters knows that while I am going for an operation on the line of control or in hinterland for internal security duties, and he knows that there is a UAV to support my operations today, he breathes a sigh of relief because he knows that there will be somebody up in the air to guide and tell him what is happening on ground, and he and his commanders in chain, they can take immediate decisions. Today there are situational rooms which are established in every formation headquarter, and whenever there is a UAV operation going on, the commanders in chain come and sit in the situational room. They can see the live imagery and they can immediately take decisions which affect things on ground. Over last 20 years or more, the UAV operations have left, therefore, an indelible mark of success. So much so that UAVs have now become an integral part of operational planning. Our forces have been operating these systems over a long period and have gained tremendous insights in the capabilities, flexibility, challenges, limitation, maintenance and manpower requirements of unmanned aerial vehicles. As we can see in the today's panel, we have an officer from the air defense who knows how an aircraft with a small payload can affect, multi-million crore of rupees of asset on ground. And here I am sitting, an operator of such a system. So we have had a long understanding, and this long understanding has resulted in shaping very clear policies and standing operating procedures on how to employ these systems. This understanding has also helped in crystallization of the system qualitative requirements, which when comes bundled with the procurement procedure becomes a daunting task for the industry to assimilate and work upon. So that is where I identify the challenge that a user has defined certain QRs that has to be associated with the procurement procedures, and that is where I feel a lot of us lack the understanding of how to have a handshake with this and give a system which is required for induction. However, forums like this, they help in bridging this understanding gap. Collaborations can be built here. Each one of us has an opportunity to learn while we, exchange our ideas and views with each other. Some key requirements which I would like to share through this platform with you, all of you, are These systems have to have endurance in terms of eyes on the station or target, capability to conduct all weather operations, use of different payloads, electro-optic, infrared, synthetic aperture radar, maritime domain awareness payloads, electronic support measures, communication intelligence, and last but not the least, robustness to operate in Indian weather condition. So this is the broad framework how any system should be looked at. While we go from mini, micro, swarm drones to the higher category of medium altitude, long endurance, or high altitude, long endurance. So each one of them will have their specific QRs related to the type of platform. The future of strategic defense system and UAV capabilities will be shaped by continuous advancement in technology. Innovations in AI, machine learning, and autonomous systems will further enhance the capabilities of these systems, making them more efficient and versatile. While concluding, I must say that the strategic defense systems and the unmanned capabilities are integral to modern military operations. They provide critical advantages in terms of intelligence gathering, combat effectiveness, and operational efficiency. As technology continues to evolve, these systems will play an increasingly important role in ensuring national security and maintaining global stability. Our industry has immense potential to rise up to the occasion and create solutions through collaboration and partnership by focusing on research and development, innovating and adhering to indigenous production, which is most critical given the recent happenings in Middle East. I thank Dr. Pranay and his team for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts with the audience, and I wish him and his team all the best for conduct of this drone expo. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. That was very brilliant intervention. And without, we have been talking of AI, artificial intelligence. There's a lot of work to be done. It's not that you launch a system and it starts deciding for you. Just a simple thing like chat, GPT, more than 100 terabytes of data have gone into it for it to be able to generate answers to few simple questions. So tomorrow, if I want my UAE system or etc. to decide or to tell me some solutions etc., the amount of information or data which has to be fed into it is not even funny. We are nowhere close, and it can tell you only what it has been told. It yes, it can do a bit of self learning, but only from the algorithms, from the information that it has been told to it. Okay, and it cannot just invent information on its own. Okay. Now, very brief intervention, Group Captain. Now, you've spoken a lot in the morning, and we would prefer a few questions from the audience. If you, for a minute or two, if you can make a point. You want to show the video? This is a game changer? Okay, I hope it's only the video then. Okay, play. But, okay.
Check. Ladies and gentlemen, once again a warm good morning and good afternoon to you. What is the current capability of the drones in the arena of warfare? I'm just going to show you a video. You will understand where the technology has reached and where we are. Please show the video.
Have one of these, right? Not quite. Hell of a pilot? No. That skill is all AI. It's flying itself. Its processor can react 100 times faster than a human. The stochastic motion is an anti-sniper feature. Just like any mobile device these days, it has cameras and sensors, and just like your phones and social media apps, it does facial recognition. Inside here is 3 grams of shaped explosive. This is how it works. Did you see that? That little bang is enough to penetrate the skull and destroy the contents. Now trust me, these were all bad guys. Now that is an airstrike of surgical precision. It's one of a range of products. Trained as a team, they can penetrate buildings, cars, trains, evade people, bullets, pretty much any countermeasure. They cannot be stopped. Now, I said this was big. Why? Because we are thinking big. Watch. A $25 million order now buys this. Enough to kill half a city. The bad half. Nuclear is obsolete. Take out your entire enemy, virtually risk-free. Just characterize him, release the swarm, and rest easy. Your kids probably have one of these, right?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is a future scenario. Better be prepared. That is point number one. Now I'm going to talk about the strategic capabilities which needs to be built up. India is a rising power, the third largest economy in terms of purchasing power parity, and aiming to become the third global power in terms of economy in
Only 1 minute.
yes, 1 minute. So it is important for us to create strategic capability. Strategic capability is that beyond the borders of the country, when we have to operate, we have got C-17s, we have got Su-30s, we have got the Rafales, etc., to operate beyond the borders. When it comes to capacity building with the drones for strategic operations, we need to have a global hawk type of drones, or now we are getting the MQ-9 Reaper, or the WZ-7 type of Chinese strategic capability drones. And this is what needs to be built up indigenously. And how this can be built up is with the cooperation of the industry and the think tanks like Center for Air Power Studies, Maritime Foundation, then the CLOS, etc. These are the people who are able to understand the requirements of the future operations and also the technology what is available, what can be created within the country. So there is a greater need for us to work fast, first make our vision clear, and act over a clear time plan to build strategic capabilities with the drones for the Indian Armed Forces. That is a dire need, and we cannot waste any more time on this one, just planning for 5 years or 10 years. The time has now come. The time has now come, and the people need to act. With this, I round up. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions, one or two, we are happy to answer. I think they made themselves very clear, and we are being pressed for time. Yes, please.
Sir, I have a point. If you see the terrain of India, that is towards J&K, it is thick jungle because I have served there. And lot of trees are there and lot of hilly areas are there. Similarly, in the northeast, there are some areas like that. What I find is that drones, when the terrorists are hiding, I mean, their capability diminishes. I think we have to think of some kind of technology where we can, stop their infiltration by detecting them in advance. That's all.
Good point. I mean, the drone capabilities, foliage penetration, etc., was limited. Like, especially herons that we bought, their SAR worked in KU band probably. The very high band for a SAR kind of capability. And I believe now they are developing radars. You will definitely need a radar to penetrate foliage. IR doesn't work, EO doesn't work at all. So there are lower band SARs being developed now, which have a greater foliage penetration, and I believe the work is on that much better detection will be possible than what is available now. I think it will happen. Thank you very much. One more question, please. Yeah. Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Lieutenant Commander Devraj, retired from the Indian Navy, presently working as an accounts director for Arfly Innovations Private Limited. On a lighter note, sir, since all the officers that were there from the Army and Air Force in the panelists, I thought I'll just put in certain words for the Navy as well. So there is a huge bandwidth of drones and UAVs which is required by the Navy as well. As of now, we are relying on the outside agencies for the drones. That was well covered in the presentation as well. And it was also mentioned about the logistic drones. So here the logistic drones is completely different because there is replenishment at sea, and the logistic drone needs to be operated at high seas, and it has to have a payload capacity of at least 100 kgs. So that is what is the future requirement and what we envisage. And sir, you excellently brought out regarding the difference between reconnaissance and surveillance. So right now in Navy, yes, we have the reconnaissance drone, but the surveillance is something which as of now we don't have, and we are working towards it. DRDO is also working towards it. So I thought I'll just put up my
Yeah.
point for it. I didn't take 5 minutes. 1 minute was good
No,
enough
thank
for
you
this.
very much.
Thank you, sir.
Even though it's a panel of Air Force Army, I think Brigadier Prasad talked more about Navy underwater capability of drones, which is actually happening. Much more is happening there. And I don't think Navy's got a bad share. The only two Reapers that we took on, lease from USA are with the Navy. I mean, they're doing only work for the Navy, not for the, Air Force and Army still have to see their operation, okay? Anyway, but the requirement of surveillance is much greater at sea. To detect a ship in the high seas all by itself is a very, very difficult situation. That is why all the satellites are also now working on tip and cue principle. That means you first detect a signal by RF emission, then launch an EO satellite. Otherwise, it's like finding a literally needle in a haystack. Okay. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. You have been a wonderful audience. And we had a wonderful panel. May I request you to join me extending a hand for our panelists who shared their knowledge with you. Thank you very much.